kudos to the Scream 6 marketing team because you guys did a heck of a job marketing this film. It looked absolutely fantastic. The movie itself, though, lacked a lot to be desired. Hate to tell you, Scream fans. All right, yeah, so I guess get right out of the way, right off the bat. Wasn't really crazy about this movie. Not a big Scream franchise fan, though I do own all the movies. I enjoy them to an extent, and I understand, what people like about them. But for me, this one just didn't land. I really liked the last Scream, Scream 2022, the one that came out a year ago. I gave that one a C+. So everybody would be like, oh, C+, that's not a great grade. No, it was, for me, I had fun with that movie. I liked a lot of the stuff about it. It just, some stuff just didn't land. So I had a lot of high hopes going into this new one, which the premise for this one essentially moves a couple of characters, a few characters from our original, town in Westboro, or Woodboro, whatever the heck the main. See, that's how big of a Scream fan I am. But essentially, so they all go to New York, and now all of a sudden there's a new Scream killer on the loose, or ghost face killer on the loose. And premise wise, absolutely great. New York, it's already, a big city. It's going to be hard to track down one killer, in this. And I think a lot of the kills and stuff were actually pretty cool. I'll give them that. So anything that had to do with the murdering and the killing and all that sort of stuff were great. They're set up great. There was a lot of intensity there. But again, I think the biggest fault with the Scream franchise is the fact that it tends to put its head up its own ass. It got very meta, which is fine. I liked it to an extent. And I don't know if they did it as bad as the first movie, but in this one, when you have to stop the movie to explain everything, I just wasn't really feeling it this time around. I guess that's just me. Maybe it was my crappy theater experience. That's a story for another day. But I tried really hard, focusing on this and trying to get into this, and I just couldn't get into this. I think the biggest problem with this film and this new iteration of the Scream franchise is the lead, Melissa Barrera as Sam Carpenter. As your lead, it's really hard to get into when they're wooden and they really don't have much dimension to them. And when they try to give them dimension, and they don't go anywhere with it. There is a really interesting part of this character of Sam that they could ride with, and I think would make for a more interesting franchise and much interesting character study. But because of what the franchise is, you can only spend so much time with that before you have to get back to the rest of the movie. And unfortunately, I don't think Melissa Barrera is the strongest actress, at least with her two Scream films she's been in. I liked her a lot more in the first one than this one. This one, I felt like it took a step back. She was a little more wooden, and it just didn't feel... I just couldn't get into caring anything about her or her character at all in this. But, however, you still got some great standout and great side characters. Of course, Jenna Ortega, who everybody knows from Wednesday now, is back in this one. I think she actually is pretty good. She doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, as much as you would think, especially after being in a Wednesday, but you have to remember they filmed this a while ago. It's great to see Courtney Cox come back. I thought she was actually really good in this. And then having Hayden Panettiere come back, who I've always kind of had a crush on since her Heroes days, having her back in this since Scream 4, which was the first Scream movie I saw in theaters, by the way. Having her back in this was kind of cool and kind of fun. They gave her quite a bit to do, but not as much as I wanted. I wanted more Hayden Panettiere, to be honest with you. As I said, I liked all the killings. Some of the character stuff didn't work. Maybe it got a little too meta for me. But at the end of the day, and of course we all know you're watching this movie and you're trying to pick out who the killer is. Which one of these new faces or old faces are going to be the killer this time around. And don't worry, this is a non-spoiler, so I'm not going to go and spoil it. All I will say is the third act gave me so many problems. And it's not that, they usually reach for explanation in the third act of these movies, it seems like. And they do it to an extent here. I like what they were trying to go for. It just doesn't land. I just found myself sitting there thinking, man, we just took, the reveal here of the person who is now your ghost face killer. We took that reveal, and I get that you want to throw people off, but they do put the breadcrumbs out there for you to kind of connect the dots. And to be honest with you, I kind of guessed it pretty early on in the movie. And you can even hear some of the people, the Scream veterans sitting behind me in the theater going, "Oh, yep, I don't like this detail. I bet you they're the kill." People figured it out. So, I get that the fun part is trying to figure out who it is, but at the same time, it's like you still kind of want to be, misled. You want to be, maybe even be wrong about who the killer is, so you can be like, "Oh, dang, okay." And then when you go back and rewatch it, you're like, "Oh, all the clues were there, but I didn't pick up on it." It's not as clever as I would like it to be, and it's not and this franchise is definitely not as clever as people claim it to be either. But I still think there could be some fun here for the hardcore Scream fans to have. It sounded like there were a few in my theater, but to be honest with you, it even sounded like they didn't get as loud and as rowdy about this movie as you would expect for a new Scream movie. I mean, people were decked out in their Scream t-shirts and stuff in my screening. It was a 3D event that I went to tonight, and to be honest with you, the 3D did absolutely nothing. Oh my God. What a waste of time and effort by the studio to even bother putting this out in 3D. It added nothing to the experience. Just throwing that out there too. Come on. At the end of the day, maybe this wasn't for me. Maybe my theater experience leaned into making me not like this movie. But I tried really hard and focused extra hard on a lot of the details of this movie. And I've come out on the other side, and I'm going to stick by it. I'm going to give this film a C-. Not as good as the last Scream movie. Not the worst thing I've seen this year. It just doesn't deliver on those awesome trailers they had. A lot of the stuff you see in the trailers, it just doesn't work the same way, and I'm a little bummed by that. I know trailers lie, and trailers are marketing, to get your butt in the seat. They got my butt in the seat. I just was really let down by this, but that's just me, guys. What about you? What was your guys' experience with the Scream franchise? I know I'm the idiot for not liking it because I'm not a big Scream fan. Hey, it is what it is. I try to judge every movie on its own merit, one at a time, regardless if I'm into the franchise or not. So for this one, just didn't work for me. But if it worked for you, let me know down in the comments below. And also, guys, if you could hit that like button or dislike button if you don't agree with me, hey, that's fine. Does the same thing in the end. Hit the like button, subscribe button, hit the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new videos for movies and stuff that I review. And of course, guys, we got a few more movies this week I'm very excited about. One of which was on my top 10 most anticipated list in 65. I'm excited to go see that this weekend. Hopefully that's good. And until then, guys, I'll be seeing you.